that means that really what we're looking at is just that. How people look, how people act, how people fit in, how people dress, how people, hold themselves, their confidence and their demeanor and all these other things that we think about. Yet their internal motives are not, put on their forehead. They're not right in front of you. You can't see a social score, so to speak. God forbid. Why do we compare ourselves to others to begin with? Is there some kind of feeling that we have about ourselves of insecurity? Or is it that the condition of the world is almost leaned in favor of us competing? We either want to be good in a craft or we want to excel in some field, whatever it is that we are going to pursue in this life. And we have this innate desire to become better at it. Those of us that want to improve, those of us that want to evolve in and create better, right? We don't want to maintain stagnancy or complacency. We want to continue to get better in whatever it is that we pursue. So is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? I don't know. Sometimes it can be bad, sometimes it can be good. But I think what is negative about it is the fact that we compare. Who we should really be comparing is ourself to our past self, ourself to our future self, so we can see progress along the lines of us as an individual, as opposed to someone who lives in a completely different scenario, completely different background, is born with a particular set of values, and they operate differently, they react differently, they hold different morals. So it's like, if we're going to actually compare ourselves to something, why don't we compare ourselves to who we are now and tomorrow, so that we can see the evolution of ourselves, so we can look back, oh yeah, 2 years ago I wasn't the man I am today, right? Or the woman I am today. So that's where the best comparison is internally. So the Bible in 1 Samuel says, a man looks at the outward appearance, God examines the heart. What does that mean? That means that really what we're looking at is just that. How people look, how people act, how people fit in, how people dress, how people, hold themselves, their confidence and their demeanor and all these other things that we think about. Yet their internal motives are not, put on their forehead. They're not right in front of you. You can't see a social score, so to speak. God forbid that ever happens in society, right? But you cannot see what the reality is of their heart. Only God can. So why are we sitting around thinking about anything to do with comparing when they could be in complete disalignment with who they should be, with what standards they should be upholding? So it's something to think about. I love a quote: God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So we have to go through a refining process to be able to be qualified for what it is that God wants to do in our life, for what it is he wants to add to us, for where it is he wants to take us. We cannot simply be qualified and then all of a sudden he's going to call our name. No, he's qualifying us as we are already called. So there's a process of edification that's necessary to go through as we're being refined and purified, and going through the trials that are put before us that we don't choose, because ultimately what should be our end goal is getting in alignment with doing what's pleasing to God, which is having internally the right mindset and motives, operating in a way that is consistent with compassion and love, right? If the whole of the law is summed up in love your neighbor as yourself, then that means that love should be at the forefront of how it is that we react to one another and how it is that we react to ourselves. Because that's really what we're doing, is we're not showing ourselves love when we're seeing ourselves as inferior in any capacity at all, whether it's intellectually, whether it's how far we've gotten in whatever it is we're pursuing. Whatever it is that you're comparing yourself to others about is showing yourself and showing everyone else that you're really loathing your progress. You're really loathing who you are compared to who others are. But all of us are made uniquely wonderful, fearfully and wonderfully made, right? So I wish I wrote down where this is at, but this is also in the Bible. Every man's way is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the hearts. So we have it backwards in the sense of why we're getting emotionally invested in other people's opinions, or why we're even reacting at all to when people disrespect us or, cut us off or say something, rude to us, which is, disrespect. Whatever it might be that we go through, that we feel, I don't deserve this, I shouldn't be treated this way, I shouldn't be, and all this stuff that we go through, and it's pity me, pity me, pity me. It's like, are we getting right in our hearts? Are we focused on the right thing? Because the actual process of eternal standards are not carnal. They're not in this world. They're not earthly, right? They're not sensual. They're not all about appeasing the eye and appeasing the opinions of others. It's right. Like, who was it? Was it Paul that said, are you seeking the approval of man or God? He was asking himself, am I going to seek the approval of man or God? Well, you should ask yourself the same question. So when you're getting caught up on the fact that, other people are don't look at me like I really even matter. They don't even look at me like I really exist. They don't even give me the time of day. People are short with me. People are cold. If you experience those kind of things, just know that it's because your mind's in the wrong place. You're thinking about the wrong thing. Because when you lead with a self-confidence in knowing who you are, knowing that you're loved by the Creator, and that you need to love yourself too, you need to practice that, you can see that the progress is stirring up inside of you. And where you're headed is literally unlimited. You have so many things that you can do to improve your mindset, and your environment may not look so positive. It may not be enjoyable. It may be consistent pressure. It might be overwhelming. You might not even want to be in the city you're in or the house you're in. All these things that we complain about. But our environment is there for our good. And if we don't allow it to do what it's supposed to do in the season that we're in, we're going to simply miss what God's trying to do in our life. Because He's constantly working, whether we understand it or not. All things work together for good for those who are called according to His purpose. So if you're trying to get in alignment with the spiritual purpose for your life, you're going to encounter God. Unless you want to idolize yourself, and then you are going to be your own God. You see, but that's not the right way to go. That way ends in futile-minded thinking, and a lack of awareness of who really is worthy of all the glory, right? We're not worthy of the glory. When you start thinking about how other people view you, or all the embarrassing stuff you did, and all the stupid stuff, and all the people you offended, you start thinking about your own mistakes. Take a bird's eye view and just retract real quick. Picture yourself as 70 years old. Maybe you're sitting down, and for some reason there's still TV dinners or something, and you're sitting down watching your hologram movie or whatever, right? And who is there in your life that knows all your embarrassing things, that knows all your unpleasurable past and all your mistakes and all the people you did not so pleasant things to? Who remembers all that? It's only you. So when you go out and you meet someone and something weird or awkward happens, you know who remembers that? Literally only you. So you're in control of how that memory corresponds to your emotional state. Other people are not thinking about you. They don't think about you. They don't think about me nearly as much as we think about ourselves. So take it into perspective. You should not be worried about how other people even think about what unpleasurable things you've done in the past, because at the end of the day, they forget. They forget way faster than you and I forget. So really, you beat yourself up when you think about the negative things that you do, and how you fell short, and how you got in a fit of anger and did all that. Like, people forget. Like, I live in a household with some people that, used to get in emotional fits all the time. I haven't thought about it until this very second when I'm sitting here conversing about it. So it's like those things go away because you have your own thoughts and emotions to care about. You have your own worries, if you will. Though we shouldn't have any worries or care for tomorrow, all right? We should give them to God. We do. We tend to sometimes arrive at a sense of worry. I think that that's really the main scope of things, is like, why are we not being fully who we want to be? Why are we not just saying hi to people and just hanging out and just, we're like, a lot of us still in our bubble. You know, we're still in our internet bubble where we just want to go home and be a hermit crab or whatever. I see it as so widely, you know, it's such a widely known and thing that we share in. And even people who hang out in groups and have lots and lots of friends, it's like, when you go home, you know, you have a sense of emptiness, and that emptiness is coming from the fact that you're comparing yourself. And even when you're in a group with friends, like, you're thinking about, you know, yourself, and you're still obsessing over yourself, whether you realize it or not. We do that over the duration of life, maybe not in the moment to moment basis, but it's unhealthy, and it's something we need to relinquish control of, just to say, all right, I don't even really quite maybe know who I am anymore, or I don't really quite know what it is I want out of my life. And sometimes to be humble about things that we are not necessarily certain on, and then allow God to just take the reins and like show us piece by piece. Doors are going to open, doors are going to close, and then all of a sudden your heart will be put in the right place, because you're no longer going to be all about me, thinking about how you can improve and how you can get status and how you can get more respect or more admiration or more whatever, right? It's all going to come to a point where it's exhausting and you're losing touch with who you are. So who you are is going to be that inside, what God is examining, right? The heart. Where is your heart?